What's up out there in the world today? Get the screen pulled up. What's up in damn hiccups, boy? They come at the wrong time for me. Hold on, give me just a second. I think maybe I got nope, they still there. Oh well. So, anyways, let me pull this up. I'm having a very hard time believing what I'm seeing anymore. I want everybody to watch this footage. This is yeah, these hiccups are killing me now. They didn't come till I hit the live button. But anyways, I'm having a hard time believing the footage that Iran's putting out. I want y'all to watch this with me and see if you notice it.
Storm moves. We covered this in a video yesterday. Footage is now out. Let's watch. So these are the quick attack Iranian boats coming up to the ship. You can see it right here. They're going to come up. They're boarding the vessel right there at the entrance port. Here they come. They are heavily armed, AK-47s. You can see.
So did anybody else notice that? Let me back this up just a little bit. Pay real close attention right here.
Vessel right there at the entrance port. Here they come.
Did you catch that?
Right there at the entrance port. Here they come.
All right. So look at the water line on that boat. Okay. Look at the pink line right here. What they call that is the bootstrap. Look at the bootstrap.
Right there at the entrance port. Here they come.
Do you see it now? Do you see where it's wet now?
They are
on the side of that boat ain't been moving. That boat has been docked. That ladder for the pilot is already out.
Heavily armed, AK-47s. You can see right there. Ski masks on. I mean, this is surreal footage to watch.
No, it's
so he's getting his AK up.
Color, Drew. That's not it. If that boat would have been underway, for one, that boat is in slick calm. So it's somewhere where it hasn't moved in at least 12 hours. Water don't dry on the side of a ship that fast. So just watch it again. You'll see the wave off of the IRGC's boat actually when it hits the side of.
Let's watch. So these are the quick attack Iranian boats.
See how
coming up to the ship. You can see it right here.
That boat ain't moved.
They're going to come up.
That boat ain't moved in a while.
They're boarding the vessel.
Now watch when the wake hits off side.
Right there at the entrance port. Here they come.
See how it changed colors right there?
They are heavily armed. AK-47s. You can see right there. Ski masks on.
Info Warriors.
I mean, this is surreal footage to watch.
Just keep watching.
So he's getting his AK up. And then if we fast forward here, you're going to see them clearing the ship. So you are seeing right now.
There is not a soul one in that pilot house. Not a soul one.
Now footage of Iranian IRGC commandos taking down this ship.
All right, we see the tankers.
Yeah.
Or we see the containers, I mean.
They took this ship hostage, moved.
All right. You see all the containers on here? Let's back it up. Where the fuck did they go? Where did all the goddamn containers go? I mean, there's a couple on there, but where did they go? Where did all the where did all the God damn it, hiccups.
Fast forward here, you're going to see them clearing the ship. So you are seeing right now footage of Iranian IRGC commandos taking down this ship.
Where did all these containers come from? Yes, the other view's got a couple on the bow. This is all stacked up by the pilot house. That in the middle right there, that is the pilot house. you can see the lifeboat up top.
They took this ship hostage, moved it back to Iran. This again after
that
the
one there was filled with containers. This is bullshit. They're putting out fucking bullshit. How much of it is fucking staged?
United States border.
I get, you know what? When somebody plays with sorry, these hiccups are killing me. When somebody plays with my intelligence, it kind of pisses me off. Yeah, this is bullshit. This is all staged.
Boarded a couple ships, the Iranians retaliating in this fashion. Now, this goes to show that in the Strait of Hormuz, I'm here to tell you the facts. I'm not here to say what people want to hear. They are literally boarding any ship that does not pay the toll, heavily armed IRGC commandos, as you can see, with AK-47s. Now, I'm going to put this on the screen. This is Caroline Leavitt trying to spin this is not a ceasefire. So they attacked 3 ships. They took 2 of them hostage. And let's see what Caroline Leavitt had to say. I think many of you are going to be equally as disappointed as I was in this. Let's watch.
No, because these were not U.S. ships. These were not Israeli ships. These were 2 international vessels. And for the American media, who is sort of blowing this out of proportion to discredit the president's facts that he has completely obliterated Iran's conventional navy, these 2 ships were taken by speedy gunboats. Iran has gone from having the most
well, just like with the fucking Rich Starry, however you pronounce it. They tried to display that it left the Strait of Hormuz, and it didn't. I literally got the track of the boat. It came in, turned around, and went back up. And everybody across the planet reported that it ran the blockade.
Lethal navy in the Middle East to now acting like a bunch of pirates. They don't have control over the strait. This is piracy that we are seeing on.
All right, I'm going to make this as crystal clear as I can here. That is a ridiculous statement from Caroline Leavitt. The gunboats, the speedboats, the small speedboats that carry 2 to 4 missiles each and then machine guns were always a major threat. And we're going to get into that here in a moment about what kind of threat these things play, because guess what, folks? It is worse than you think. For Caroline Leavitt to say they don't control the Strait of Hormuz or that the Strait of Hormuz is open, they attacked 3 ships after we agreed to stop.
I'm starting to wonder how much of this whole thing is fucking real. I know that's going to sound crazy, but I really am. I'm starting to wonder just how much of this shit is actually real.
Stop shooting. We haven't done it.
Is the hostages real? Is what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that there's not a conflict going on, because there definitely is, but how much of this shit is real?
Anything other than taking down the secret Chinese cargo. Iran, the fact of the matter is, they have the ability in the Strait of Hormuz using these small speedboats, which have anti-ship missiles on them to attack boats. The Strait of Hormuz is still highly, highly contested.
As I promise you, when you seize a ship, this ship has no containers on it, hardly. It's got some kind of storage shit at the back, and it might have a container or 2 on the front, but normally oil tankers do not carry containers. When you look at the side of that ship, it's completely dry. It hasn't moved in hours, probably 12, I would say. It takes a little while for that water to dry on the side.
They're going to come up.
Comes up. You're going to see
they're boarding the vessel.
It's going to get on the side of it. It's going to
right there at the entrance port. Here they come.
Got wet.
They are heavily armed. AK-47s. You can see right there. Ski masks on.
Why is the pilot door open? Yeah, I believe that, Bulldog. I honestly do. I believe that's a training video. Why is that pilot door open? It's where was the camera crew?
I mean, this is surreal footage to watch. So he's getting his AK up. And then if we fast forward here, you're going to see them clearing the ship. So you are seeing right now footage of Iranian IRGC commandos taking.
Now, all of a sudden, there's all these containers. Yeah, who put the ladder down for them? Exactly. Exactly. This is propaganda. This didn't happen. This did not happen. They did not seize a fucking container ship. They didn't seize an oil tanker. I don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. I think they're just trying to either buff or there's something
down this ship.
This is different. This is clearly fucking weird.
They took this ship hostage, moved it back to Iran. This
Did you
again
see all
after
the
the United
containers on the
States
front of that
boarded a couple ships, the Iranians retaliating in this fashion. Now, this goes to show that in the Strait of Hormuz, I'm here to tell you the facts. I'm not here to say what people want to hear. They are literally boarding any ship that does not.
No, they're not, David. They're literally not boarding a fucking thing. This is fake.
Pay the toll. Heavily armed IRGC commandos, as you can see, with AK-47s. Now, I'm going to
This boat is anchored out, is what it is. This boat is in port, clear, clean waters. It's anchored out. They ain't took shit.
this on the screen. This is Caroline Leavitt trying to spin this is not a ceasefire. So they attacked 3 ships. They took 2 of them hostage. And let's see what Caroline Leavitt had to say. I think many of you are going to be equally as disappointed as I was in this. Let's watch.
No, because these were not U.S. ships. These were not Israeli ships. These were 2 international vessels. And for the American media, who is sort of blowing this out of proportion to discredit the president's facts that he has completely obliterated Iran's conventional navy, these 2 ships were taken by speedy gunboats. Iran has gone from having the most lethal navy in the Middle East to now acting like a bunch of pirates. They don't have control over the strait. This is piracy that we are seeing on.
All right, I'm going to make this as crystal clear as I can here. That is a ridiculous statement from Caroline Leavitt. The gunboats, the speedboats, the small speedboats that carry 2 to 4 missiles each and then machine guns were always a major threat. And we're going to get into that here in a moment about what.
I don't believe Iran is marching down the street with rockets. I don't believe any of that anymore. All this shit that they're putting out is propaganda. And I'll get into further detail why I believe that later on, but
kind of threat these things play, because guess what, folks? It is worse than you think. For Caroline Leavitt to say they don't control the Strait of Hormuz or that the Strait of Hormuz is open, they attacked 3 ships after we agreed to stop shooting. We haven't done anything other than taking down the secret Chinese cargo. Iran, the fact of the matter is, they have the ability in the Strait of Hormuz using these small speedboats, which have anti-ship missiles on them, to attack boats. The Strait of Hormuz is still highly, highly contested. Yes, we did blow up their conventional naval ships, but the speedboats were always a problem. And now let's get into a little bit more about that right now. So what you see on your screen right now is satellite images showing 33 speedboats. We have a couple images we're going to get into here. 33 Iranian speedboats that are racing around the Strait of Hormuz that are guaranteeing that any ship that attempts to pass that does.
How do we know that them are Iranian speedboats? Please, somebody tell me. How do we know that? How do we know that to be a fact?
Does not pay the Iranian toll is promptly attacked. Okay, so what you see, these boats are racing through the Strait of Hormuz. They're armed with machine guns. They're armed with anti-ship missiles. Now, we do have capabilities to knock them out. An A-10 Warthog, for example, would feast on these targets, would absolutely feast on these targets. These ships represent an imminent and grave threat to all the ships in the Strait of Hormuz. These are the facts of the matter. For anyone to say the Strait of Hormuz is open right now, 24 hours after 2 ships were taken hostage and another one was bombed and shot up, is crazy. Look at how many ships they have in the water. They don't need a conventional navy to do this. They can do this with the speedboats. The Strait of Hormuz is not a big area. They can chokehold it with this. And furthermore, here's another look at it, saying that in this image, you have 20 gunships that are believed to have been traveling the middle of the Strait of Hormuz, laying mines. So they continue to mine the Strait of Hormuz. Remember when?
Yeah, because there wasn't any mines there to start with. And what happened to our underwater mine detection system that they were using? The remote control subs that they were using to detect these mines. They've waited so long that
they said they were going to remove all the mines, or the political leaders in Iran said that. That is not true whatsoever. They are run right now by the IRGC. The IRGC wants to escalate. So now they're laying further mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Some more reporting on the mines in the Strait of Hormuz. According to the Washington Post, citing 3 sources with knowledge on the matter, the Pentagon has told Congress that Iran may have placed up to 20 naval mines in and around the Strait of Hormuz, and that it may take up to 6 months for clearance operations to conclude.
Bomb the fucking strait. It takes 60 minutes. Fly over the motherfucker and drop bombs down into the strait. Set all the mines off if you're worried about them.
Additionally, per the report, it is said that it is unlikely that said operations can be carried out until the end of the conflict with Iran, and a long-term ceasefire can be put in place. So we are now learning it will take up to 6 months to remove all the mines that the Iranians have placed in the Strait of Hormuz. This is a disastrous situation. The U.S. military must act promptly, must act quickly, and must act with overwhelming force. This is why this ceasefire, now we're going to get into more of that here in a bit. This is why the ceasefire was such a bad idea. It allowed Iran, who was on their back foot, the United States military landing blow after blow after blow, it allowed them to regroup and do this and mine the Strait of Hormuz. Now, right here, more news. U.S. fighter jets have intercepted Iranian kamikaze drones over Erbil, Iraq. Explosions reported from the interceptions. So Iranian drones were sent into Iraq. This is an area that is very friendly to the United States. U.S. fighter jets had to scramble to blow them out of the air. So we have Iranian fast attack ships in the Strait of Hormuz attacking ships, taking them hostage. We have Iran firing drones that are being shot down by U.S. fighter jets. At what point is the U.S. going to get tired of this and say, you know what? It's time for us to start shooting back. We have to shoot back. We cannot tolerate this any longer. We have restrained ourselves during the ceasefire. The Iranians have absolutely not restrained themselves during the ceasefire. Now, interesting. We have an interesting situation. I'm going to go full screen. This is drone activity, possibly U.S., possibly Israeli, over the skies of Tehran last night, overnight, coming into today, April 23rd. So you can see the drones in the air right there. As that was happening, there were reports via Shin of multiple explosions and anti-aircraft activity in northwestern Tehran. Some people were trying to say that the United States and Israel had restarted bombing. We have no proof that that is the case. Nothing suggests that bombing has recommenced. It is more likely that the Iranians, using what anti-aircraft capabilities they have left, opened fire on the drones over the skies of Iran. And then right here, more reports of that, blast sounds in Pardis, east of Tehran province. So we are hearing more and more news that we sent in drones, or the Israelis sent in drones. The Iranians attempted to engage them with what anti-aircraft capabilities they have left. Now, furthermore, a very troubling report. U.S. intelligence says that Iran retains more military capabilities than publicly acknowledged, with about half of its ballistic missiles and launchers intact, and roughly 60% of RIGC naval forces still operational. So now people are going to look at that 60% operational and say, how could that be? We blew up their Navy. We blew up their big surface ships. We blew up their submarines, their missile ships, their big, the Soleimani class. We blew up their aircraft carrier for their helicopters and drones. It is the fast attack ships that remain a major, major problem and must be dealt with. So now the U.S. intel assessment,
they're not that much of a major problem. We've seen what the U.S. can do. Put a couple 100 pounds of fentanyl on that bitch and watch what happens.
Retains more fighting capabilities than people wanted to believe or admit. Again, I am telling you what you need to hear. I'm not telling you what you want to hear. We have to look at this with clear eyes and totally focused. Furthermore, Axios reporting IRGC senior officials did not allow an Iranian negotiating team to go to Islamabad to meet with U.S. negotiators, and rejected the content that Iranian negotiators discussed with the U.S. in the first round of talks. Trump convened his team and decided to give Iran more time. Again, I view this as a strategic mistake. Trump said, well, the Iranians need to get their shit together essentially and find a leader. I have reported to you guys, and I believe it to be 1,000% accurate.
They know who's in charge over there. Them telling us that they don't know who's in charge is bullshit. You can't tell me that they were going to load J.D. Vance up and send him halfway across the fucking world because somebody's not in charge. That don't even make fucking sense.
Accurate that the IRGC is in total control in Iran. The IRGC has no interest in negotiating. The IRGC controls all the levers of power. So we essentially gave the IRGC more time to, again, set up plans. We should have bombed the hell out of them immediately. The moment they said, we're not coming to negotiations, Trump should have said, the ceasefire is over. The bombings are back on. We are going to hit them. We're going to hit them hard, and we're not taking our foot off the gas.
What's happening is our military is falling apart before our eyes. You got fucking people in charge of the Navy resigning, quitting, being fired. People over the fucking Army. We're all fucked up. They're trying to stop Trump in Congress and shit. They're trying to pass laws where he can't go to war. Iran is stalling for the 60-day deadline because after 60 days, Trump can't do anything without a vote on it. I do not get it, man. I do not get it.
The reality of the situation. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. Now, very interesting report. We've had a lot of reports of car bombings, attacks on the street of Iran, drive-by shootings. Now we are hearing 100 besieged members. That is their secret police, if you will.
A little more important than that.
The Iranian regime firing on at least 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media claiming 2 of them are now in control of the IRGC. These are civilian vessels, by the way. All this complicating the ceasefire that was supposed to end today, as new reports claim President Trump is now giving him 3 to 5 days to get behind a counteroffer because they are not on the same page even to deal with us. Here with what all this means for the U.S. Naval Forces and our forces, retired U.S. 4-star Admiral William McRaven. Great to see you, Admiral.
Good to be with you, Brian.
Your thoughts about where we're at now? You just told me in the green room for decades you guys have had a plan to go at Iran for different administrations and generations. Where are we at?
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact of the matter is since 1979, I think every president has wanted to kind of change the regime in Iran. So we've had plans for a long time about that. So where we are now, we're at an impasse at the end of the day. The Iranians don't want to come to the negotiating table until we lift the blockade. But the blockade for us is a pressure point on Iran. So at some point in time, someone's going to have to blink. If I were advising the president, I'd say, if you really want to get the Iranians to the negotiating table, continuing to bomb them probably isn't going to work. Lift the blockade for a period of the ceasefire. And the blockade is a switch. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. So if you lift the blockade and allow them to come to the negotiating table, try to get some movement on this. They got to
get out of the strait, though.
They got to get out of the strait, yeah. But you lift the blockade, and if they don't comply, you just put the blockade back in place. I mean, this is not something that takes a lot of machinations to happen.
So the president said, hey, I'm taking out their power plants. I'm going to go for the bridges if they don't come to the table. Why is that not a good idea?
It's not a good idea because, again, the Iranians have got thousands of drones and still probably 1,000 short-range ballistic missiles. They will attack their Arab neighbors. They will go after the desalination plants. They will go after the Arab power plants. 90% of Kuwait's water comes from a desalination plant. So if we begin to take out the Iranian power plants, then they will respond against the Arabs, and that will create more economic problems, global economic problems, in addition to problems in the neighborhood.
Do you who would you deal with? Who do you want to deal with? The IRGC, or would you rather deal with the foreign minister?
The fact of the matter is the IRGC is probably running the country, but you have to deal with the foreign minister. The foreign minister right now represents Iran, whether we like it or not. I agree with the president. I do think there is a fractured group. The hard part is, how do you get a consolidated answer from Iran? Hard to do.
Congratulations. You're one of the most respected people in the country, and some of your commencement speeches, one in particular in 2014, still resonates at the University of Texas where you worked. But you have a brand new book out called Duty, Honor, Country, and Life, a tribute to the American spirit.
Trying to sell
Admiral, why did you write this?
Well, one, we got 250th coming up. And part of this was, people seem to be losing a little bit of hope in America. And this book, my speeches are really stories, and they're stories I've kind of been telling over the last 20 years. But everywhere I go, I meet great Americans that inspire you, that give you hope, that make you realize
Not in uniform.
Not in uniform. Absolutely. This is not a book about people in uniform. This is, students and astronauts and doctors and Irishmen and football players. But
not the working
people are losing a little bit of faith in
average
America. If you're
American.
losing faith in America, read this book. I think it'll put you right back on the right path.
You also want to bring civility back. I
Absolutely.
mean, the commercials that have people cursing, talking about a certain president or party, it's got to go. But we have an excerpt that we thought would be great for you to read up from your book.
Okay.
Here we go.
A virus was sweeping through hospitals and assisted living homes, taking the lives of our citizens and leaving many Americans terrified about their future. We needed courage and we needed heroes, and heroes we got. They were the healthcare workers, the first responders, the delivery men and women, all those people who allowed us, the rest of us, to continue with our lives.
So a slice from the pandemic, that's
Right.
what you noticed.
Yeah. Well, this was one of the speeches I gave in 2020 to the students at MIT when it was in the middle of the pandemic. But to your point on civility, you go back to 1776. George Washington lived by a little book called The Rules of Civility and Decency. He believed in civility. Later on, you have John Stuart Mill in the 1800s who writes this book on liberty, which was a massive influence on Americans at the time. And he talked about civility because if you're going to have disagreements, you have to be civil so that the good ideas can make it to the marketplace of ideas and be debated and be discussed. If you're not civil, then you don't get a chance to see what the good ideas are that are going to move America forward.
That dude trying to sell a fucking book.
U.S. forces cracking down, conducting a maritime interdiction more than 2,000 miles from the Strait of Hormuz, boarding a sanctioned tanker ship transporting oil from Iran in the Indian Ocean. This coming as President Trump has a new warning for Iran over the strait. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino. Bill Hemmer is off today. It's great to have you.
Got the other Bill.
Yes, the other Bill in my life.
Good to see you as always. I'm Bill Malugin. President Trump tells Fox right now there's just no rush to make a deal with Iran as the ceasefire remains in place while the U.S. continues to enforce a naval blockade, disrupting illicit networks, providing material support to Iran wherever they operate.
The point of this is the economic leverage that we maintain over Iran now. While there's a ceasefire with respect to the military and kinetic strikes, Operation Economic Fury continues. And the crux of that is this naval blockade. So the president, the cards are in his hands. The United States maintains control over the situation. He has all of the leverage. But right now, the blockade continues to be massively effective and inflicting maximum leverage and economic pressure on the regime right now.
And Lucas Tomlinson has some new information from the White House. He is joining us live on the North Lawn. Lucas, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. President Trump issuing new orders to the U.S. military to destroy any Iranian boats caught laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, saying he will blow up the ceasefire if they do. The president also posting on Truth Social moments ago another post about Iran's leadership saying, quote, Iran is having a very hard time figuring out who their leader is. They just don't know. The infighting between the hardliners who have been losing badly on the battlefield and the moderates who are not very moderate at all, but gaining respect is crazy. We have total control over the Strait of Hormuz. No ship can enter or leave without the approval of the United States Navy. It is sealed up tight until such time as Iran is able to make a deal. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, overnight, as you mentioned, Bill, U.S. forces boarding a third Iranian ship, what the military is calling a right of visit boarding of a sanctioned stateless vessel called the Majestic 10, transporting oil from Iran in the Indian Ocean. Pentagon says it will continue global maritime enforcement like this to disrupt illicit networks and interdict vessels providing material support to Iran wherever they operate. Yesterday, Iran seized 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz after U.S. forces seized 2 of Iran's ships in an apparent tit for tat. Iran says the Strait.
Yeah, that's why I think that shit is just propaganda, right? Because the U.S. took 2, so Iran's got to try to show some kind of strength and say, well, we took 2 too, except for the 2 that they took don't exist.
remains closed unless the blockade is lifted. And according to Central Command, U.S. forces have directed 31 vessels to turn around or return to port as part of the U.S. blockade against Iran. Here's more from Caroline Levitt on the negotiations with Iran with Martha yesterday.
We're waiting to hear back from the Iranian regime. The fact that they cannot send a unified message yet, which is why the president decided to extend the ceasefire, just shows how effective Operation Epic Fury truly was, because there's a lot of internal division over there. The president understands that, and so we await their response. Well, the president, the cards are in his hands. The United States maintains control over the situation. He has all of the leverage.
Burt Jones is everything I hate about politics.
He's had 14 years. What's he done?
Right now, there are no plans for Vice President J.D. Vance to lead a delegation to Islamabad to resume negotiations with Iran, who says they won't show up to Islamabad to talk with the U.S. side unless the blockade is lifted. And in the next few days, a third U.S. aircraft carrier strike group will be on station in the Middle East. That's the USS George H.W. Bush strike group. Bill.
All right, we'll see if we end up getting that second round of talks. Lucas Tomlinson live at the White House. Lucas, thanks.
More on this with Brent Sadler. He's a Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow and former U.S. Navy captain. I want to have you listen to somebody you probably know very well, Kenneth Brathwaite. He was on last hour. He's a former Secretary of the Navy.
The power of America from the sea to the shore is being demonstrated today. We do have the ability to seize the straits. We do have the ability, as the president indicated, to wipe out the fast boats. We have 3 carrier strike groups. We have 2 amphibious readiness groups, assorted other fleet assets that are there. Again, this is the greatest concentration of naval forces that we've seen in a long time.
And Brent, as you add the USS George H.W. Bush, that's a lot of naval power there that can help figure out a way to get this to the next stage. Your thoughts this morning?
How are they restocking these boats, these aircraft carriers? I don't know if any of y'all ever been on a cruise, but with 3,000 people on board, I don't know how many's on these carriers. I'm sure there's at least 2,000 people on them, as big as they are. I would assume anyway. But it takes hours and hours, and that's with a forklift next to a dock. How are they this one boat's been out to sea for over a year. How are they restocking these guys?
Well, yes, that's a lot of afloat diplomacy that's headed towards Iran, and they need to take note. I think it's important to kind of also build on what President Trump said in his Truth Point posting just recently, and that is any Iranian forces laying mines will be attacked. I don't think that necessarily invalidates the wider ceasefire. It also should be expanded or considered to go after any of these small boats that are trying to seize or attack shipping going through the straits, like the capture of 2 MSC vessels, arguably in Iran's designated shipping routes. So an interesting way to treat those that are following their diktat. But the U.S. Navy, the U.S. military.
How many boats do they have in that motherfucker? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 ships.
Those that are following their diktat. But the U.S. Navy, the U.S. military is definitely repositioned, rearmed, and ready to restart another campaign of strikes across Iran if necessary. But the blockade is having the desired effect, pressure on Tehran, but also pressure on its benefactors like Beijing.
Speaking of that blockade, President Trump had a phone call with our colleague Martha McCallum yesterday afternoon where he talked about it. If we could pull a line out from that phone call, he said, quote, "The blockade scares them even more than the bombing. They've been bombed for years, but the blockade they hate." The president says it's costing Iran upwards of $500 a day to have that blockade. Do you think he's right with his assessment there? The Iranians are more afraid of that blockade than military bombing?
Yes, and I think it has to do with the calculation of groups like the IRGC. It's not about dollars or the bucks. It's about power. And if they're not able to maintain their networks of, coercion and brutality in the streets of Tehran, then they will be out of power. And so the blockade's taken away their finances, their ability to continue to arm and to keep the muscle on the streets, so to speak. But at the same time, it's alienating them from their biggest benefactors and allies like Beijing.
You know, it's easy to, when you listen to Caroline Levitt, you can get a sense of where they're coming from looking at this. Obviously, they're realistic and they're pragmatic, but they're also saying, okay, these are the things that are going well. If you were take a moment, though, and say, is there anything that concerns you right now? If you were looking at this saying, this very unpredictable situation where you do not have command and control in the Iranian leadership, that seems to me quite dangerous because you don't know who's making decisions.
Well, actually, I think it's by design that they're starting to fracture, because the only way you get to a better place with Iran is giving an opportunity for the regime to change its nature, to live in peace with its neighbors, to include Israel, not threaten American citizens. And so they're going to fracture. They're going to have a messy period where they're going to change by themselves, hopefully, the Iranian people being the voice that matters most. And the blockade that's being enforced right now is making that focus inward in Iran. And again, not knowing who's in charge, I think this should have been anticipated. And it's part of the byproducts of applying the pressure, economic, as well as the military, the epic fury and the economic fury that's being brought to bear on them. So we'll go through this. The Iranian regime that comes out of this is hopefully one that is acceptable to American interest and not threatening American lives.
Bryn Sadler, we appreciate you being on to kick off our second hour here on America's Newsroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News.
The Middle East is on the verge of igniting again. The countdown has begun, and the IDF is preparing and waiting for the decision. And now, the picture is clear. The blockade frightens Iran more than the bombs do. One hand is extended to save the Iranian people, and the other hand is choking the regime. That's how Trump's dual track line works against the Revolutionary Guards in Iran. The military stages are already known in advance. Now, the ball is in Iran's hands. But if they do not reach an agreement after the ceasefire, a crushing military blow will be carried out. We're talking about an American attack in cooperation with Israel, with even greater force than what the United States has delivered against Iran so far. Iran has suffered severe blows, but is still maintaining the regime's stability, while Hezbollah in Lebanon is violating the ceasefire with Israel. And yesterday, the White House drew a red line for the negotiations. The White House spokeswoman made it clear that Iran must transfer the highly enriched uranium to the United States. And right now, the American demand is becoming harsher against the backdrop of the escalation in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump expects the Iranian leadership to resolve its internal disagreements and present an agreed proposal. But the disagreements continue to deepen the cracks within the Revolutionary Guards, and the leadership there, which believes it's hold strong bargaining chips, is taking its time. President Trump makes it clear that the United States is moving from a tactic of heavy bombing to a choking blockade, and denies reports of an approaching deadline. There is no time to end this pressure. We want a good deal, end quote. I'm Yair Pinto, with me is Mati Shoshani, and we are boots on the ground. We bring you the whole truth about what's happening in Israel, and also the whole truth about what's happening in our neighborhood, the Middle East. And this is the opening of day 55 of the war, Roaring Lion, or by its American name, Epic Fury. So it turns out that the Iranians are trying to be pirates. Yes, exactly, pirates. The Revolutionary Guards published footage of the takeover of the ships Infanadis and MSC Francesca in the Strait of Hormuz. In the footage, Revolutionary Guards forces are seen approaching in speedboats, firing and boarding with weapons that are drawn in a formation that looks more like an uncoordinated terrorist organization than actually a military force. Iran's leadership is intensifying the military pressure towards the United States and is putting on display in a completely unhinged military parade. Advanced ballistic missile capable of carrying heavy payloads to especially long ranges.
The
military display is meant
they're
to
trying to
project high
convince us that
operational
that's it.
readiness and growing deterrence capability as a direct answer to the massive diplomatic pressure and the choking naval blockade that is being exposed and imposed on the country of Iran. I have to point out that it looks like Donald Trump has found what hurts the regime in Tehran. The Revolutionary Guards keep fighting amongst themselves. From the Iranian perspective, in recent days,
Did you
they
see
have
the
been
smoke?
leading the Americans into a kind of humiliation. But in
Did you
practice,
see the smoke
the
coming out of the back of that cargo vessel just then? There was no. The other one was not underway.
Revolutionary Guards have taken heavy blows from the power of the United States military and the IDF. The Iranian regime leadership has mostly been eliminated, and most of the headquarters of Iran's internal security, the Basij forces, have been destroyed. I'm talking about everything from police stations in districts and also neighborhoods, all the way to central headquarters. The situation has reached the point that junior commanders, because of the elimination of senior officers, are being forced to command force structures that they were never trained to and have no experience in doing. The Iranians have suffered a never trained to and have no experience to command force structures that they were never trained. Senior officers are being forced to command force structures that they were never trained to and have no experience in doing. The Iranians have suffered a devastating blow to their air defensive systems, to their missile systems, to their nuclear program, to the facilities, to the government buildings, and to the infrastructure. But the center of the damage is in the defensive industries and in the industries that are the weight-bearing pillar of the Iranian economy. While the naval blockade is costing Tehran $500 million a day, Donald Trump is holding back the military option. The president is giving the Iranians time and taking advantage of the cracks in the regime in order to force an agreement. The message is clear: a full deal on the American terms or the destruction of more infrastructure. President Donald Trump decided to extend the ceasefire without a target date, and this allows time to work in favor of the American blockade. The White House makes it clear that there is a deep split in the top against the background of the disappearance of Mujtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Ayatollah regime in Iran. And this situation allows the American fleet to tighten the naval siege and intercept oil tankers thousands of kilometers away from the Gulf, while letting the Revolutionary Guards in Iran occupy themselves with power struggles behind the scenes. So in simple words, what is the strategy? The United States is betting on the internal collapse of the regime in Tehran, while the blockade causes economic suffocation for the Revolutionary Guards, something that will affect their ability to pay officials. The United States Central Command reports absolute operational superiority of the fleet. The fleet is intercepting Iranian tankers in Asia and preventing
Putting
all
something else out
oil
on Twitter.
smuggling.
Let's
This
go.
situation has pushed crude oil prices past the $100 mark.
This dude right here. On Twitter, it appears to be. What's up, Eric Extreme? How you doing, man? Good to see you. They're saying this is why Trump stopped. Let me see if I can find it. And then all right, let's pull this up right here. Share the screen with y'all. Good. I'm glad I found the original video of that. This is one that I'm wanting to look at. Did you see that concrete barrier move? They're full of fucking shit. Everything that they're putting out is fucking propaganda. Watch when this soldier hits this barrier right here. It's bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. See that concrete barrier? Watch when this soldier boom, the whole concrete barrier. Fuck out of here.
Incoming.
Incoming. It sounds like a fucking game.
Go behind the truck. Holding left. Move. Move. Damn. There goes. Incoming. Move. Go. Go behind something. Let's move. Let's move. Everybody inside. To the bunker. Go. Keep moving. Jesus.
I'm glad I found the original video of this. Yeah, it's definitely fucking AI. Yeah, it's all fake. This is the video that the news is running around with right now, Michael. Just like the fucking Richard Story shit. That's why I say I don't believe nothing these motherfuckers say. I don't think that they have anything going on over there. That ship right there is showing that it's underway, right? But you don't see any weight coming off the back of it. You see smoke coming out the stack, and it's loaded down with freight. Not even oil. This is a level right here where they put cars and shit. This is not even a fucking oil tank. Look, they're showing it as they're chasing this fucking tanker, right? The boat is throwing a wake off of it. Now we're back to the fucking containers. Look, and this boat here happens to be at the fucking, just docked out there. Like, for real, what the fuck is going on here with these people?
من الصحراء هذه المواكب الكبيرة لرجال الأمن الذين استعانوا بالله على تأمين هذه الصحاري وقطعوا على أنفسهم عهدا أن يقطعوا.
This motherfucker's eyebrow takes a sharp 90-degree turn straight up into his fucking forehead.
أي يد تمتد تريد العبث بأمن واستقرار البلد. نشاهد على امتداد واسع من الصحراء هذه.
It's fucking fake. It's all fucking fake. This shit here's fucking fake.
بسم الله. سين احنا منحرنا على حبنا الوقت والحكي وفداء نحن عن خدر الله. بسم الله. سين احنا منحرنا على حبنا الوقت حرنا على حبنا الوقت. سين احنا منحرنا على حبنا الوقت.
So both of these supposed to be the same missile. This one here's got the Iranian flag on it. This one here's just something totally different. What the fuck? These people think we're idiots, man. All right. This is their make-believe fucking catamaran. Let's see. Let's check out their badass
الإيراني يقول ستكون هنالك مفاجأة كبيرة هذه الليلة وسيتذكرها العالم لقرون عديدة.
بالضبط.
إذن
The Iran army is moving heavy missiles, saying after the ceasefire breach, there will now be a big surprise, one that the world and Israel will remember for centuries. Well, fuck. If that's only how the world worked, huh? They went too far with this internet shit. I'm just looking to see if I notice any differences on these than the other ones. They've all got the exact same paint job. I noticed that. I mean, the trucks all look exactly alike. That's not how camouflage works, but okay. All right. We believe you. Maybe. I doubt it, but okay. It's all AI. Every bit of this is fucking AI.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. این کار قشنگ و بچه‌های سپاه دارن انجام میدن در پاسخ به درخواست پسران ایران زمین. انشالله بره به قلب رژیم.
Their AI military might be able to whip ours, but in real world, that ain't how it fucking works.
الله ما نتروش بالبترول ذا المرة ما نتروش بالبترول عز الله ما قل ما نتروش من صافر ما نجلس كذي لما ندخل صافر نتروش
حي جند الله وحي رجاله الحبابة قام من نور النبي معناهم شبابة صدوا وطلع العدا وهامه.
That's supposed to scare us? Is that supposed to fucking scare us? These fucking sand lizards better stay where the fuck in their place, what they better do. What's going on, Ready Randy? Let's see what they promote. This is AI too. I want y'all to watch them Iranian flags right here. You're going to see it's completely white on the other side. Some of them got the Iranian colors on both sides, but we all know that when you make a flag out of that material, it's the same color on both sides. That's completely AI. We're doing good, man. We're doing good. We're getting ready to go to the boat. I might go start me an Iranian Navy. Huh? If they think they're going to whip us with computer generated images, they got nothing.
No fucking way! No, baby! No! Are we dangerous here? Yeah, we're dangerous. Oh my god! Oh dear! Are you filming? Yes, I'm filming! Wow! Wow! I think we are dangerous. Let's go! Let's go down!
This is just crazy. That's why I say you can't believe none of the shit that they put out, right? So what I've gathered from them is they're a bunch of fucking liars. Put out. Yeah, that might be footage from inside Israel when they were getting bombed, but let's go see what Mario's talking about.
Which is, that must be so infuriating to Netanyahu. But, you know, the fact that Trump had to say, and not even tell Netanyahu a week and a half ago that Netanyahu was bound by that ceasefire with Lebanon, you know, and of course he didn't honor, Israel has never honored a ceasefire, but I don't think they understand what any of that means. But they didn't like being told by Trump to go ahead and cease fire in southern Lebanon. They didn't like that at all. And that wouldn't have happened except Iran is pressuring the United States.
Ain't that,
and
that's the truth. Ready, Randy, what's up, bro?
You know, the Israelis own Trump.
Or
I mean,
Johnny,
the Zionists own
what's
Trump.
up, you too,
There's
Ready,
no
Randy,
doubt.
again,
They
but
bought
I meant to
his
say
way
Ringo.
into the White House. They provide him support. That's clear. But, you know, the financial people in New York and globally also have some influence on Trump. And I think they're very concerned about not just the short-term immediate.
Nah, Randy, I've been watching stuff about the fucking war, and I'm gonna tell you, after watching some of these films and stuff, and some of these videos and catching these AI versions, I don't know how much of this shit is real anymore. I mean, Iran is trying to bluff people, and it's not working. They paid the KKK. Oh shit. That wouldn't surprise me, man. Just wouldn't surprise me. But like, if I fucking catch the shit, you can't tell me that some of the brightest minds in the world are not.
MS Now's
catching this
Jackie
shit.
Alemany just spoke to President
And
Trump.
why ain't they
Eli
correcting it?
Stokols is White House and
Iran threatens to hit regional power plants if U.S. strikes escalate. And these fuckers from that live now from wherever Fox, whatever it is, they keep playing old videos like the shit's happening right now, and that's just not what the fuck is going on. Let's see what this.
All right, what's going on, everyone? So a lot to get into today as President Trump just announced that the United States is extending the ceasefire with Iran indefinitely. Not 1 week, not 2 weeks, but until a deal is reached, which could be a while. I mean, this might be.
Fox News alert President Trump cranking up the economic pressure on Iran's terror regime. The Pentagon just releasing new video showing U.S. forces boarding a sanctioned tanker. It says it was moving Iranian oil. So the U.S. blockade continues to deliver here. The president appears satisfied with how his strategy is playing out. In fact, he told Fox News, there's no real rush on the deal because this is working. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. All of it shows just how effective the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports could be. Our military has now denied 31 vessels access to Iranian ports. Enforcement includes U.S. troops, warships, fighter aircraft, and surveillance strategically positioned across that region. Operations Epic Fury and now Economic Fury working hand in hand. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent highlighted the potency of what's going on with the Economic Fury part of it. He says in a matter of days, Kharg Island, storage there will be full. And the fragile Iranian oil wells will be shut in. Constraining Iran's maritime trade directly targets the regime's primary revenue lifelines. It systematically degrades Tehran's ability to generate, move, and repatriate funds. We continue to freeze the funds stolen by the corrupt leadership on behalf of the people of Iran. And that term shut in, actually for oil wells, it means that they are forced to stop operating. They can't pump because they don't have any place to put the oil because they can't move the oil and then bring those empty ship containers back and collect the oil and keep that process going. A JP Morgan analysis says Iran has about 2 weeks until that shut-in threshold hits. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
We are completely strangling their economy through this blockade. They're losing $500 million a day. The Kharg Island is completely full. They can't move oil in and out. They can't even pay their own people as a result of this economic leverage that President Trump has inflicted over them.
President Trump's words to Fox yesterday, the blockade scares Tehran even more than the bombing. Victoria Coates, Deputy National Security Advisor during President Trump's first term. Up in focus. First, let's go to Lucas Tomlinson at the White House. Lucas.
Good morning, Harris. President Trump issuing new orders to the U.S. military to destroy any Iranian boats caught laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, threatening to blow up the ceasefire to do so. The president also taking to Truth Social to post something else about Iran's leadership. The president writing, quote, Iran is having a very hard time figuring out who their leader is. They just don't know. The infighting between the hardliners who have been losing badly on the battlefield and the moderates who are not very moderate at all, but gaining respect is crazy. We have total control over the Strait of Hormuz. No ship can enter or leave without the approval of the United States Navy. It is sealed up tight until such.
Saying that they done hit Iran again. some reason I just do not believe that. Yeah.
Transporting oil from Iran. Yesterday, Iran seized 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz after U.S. forces seized 2 of Iran's ships in apparent tit for tat. Iran says the strait will remain closed until the blockade is lifted. And for a 5th time, Senate Republicans have blocked a resolution to end the war on Iran. This, in the next few days, a 3rd U.S. aircraft carrier strike group, the USS George H.W. Bush, will arrive on station in the Arabian Sea. Harris?
All right. Thank you very much for getting us started, Lucas. In focus now, Victoria Coates served as Deputy National Security Advisor during President Trump's first term. She is also Vice President of the National Security for the Heritage Foundation. Great to have you today. The Majestic 10 transporting oil from Iran. They are desperate and still trying, and we are.
All right, enough of that shit. We know they're fucking lying, right? Well, don't call them in a lie. Find something a little more interesting for us to fucking observe while we're here before I get off of here. So I guess we reclassified marijuana as a less deadly drug, which should have been anyway, right? Fucking marijuana ain't that bad. I don't know why they classified it the way they did anyway. Let's see.
We have the living hostages all back. They returned some more today. It's a gruesome process. I almost hate to talk about it. But they're digging. They're actually digging. There are areas where they're digging and they're finding a lot of bodies. Then they have to separate the bodies. You wouldn't believe this. And some of those bodies have been in there a long time. And some of them are under rubble. They have to remove rubble. But there are graves, and some are in tunnels that died in tunnels that are way down under the earth. And the tunnels are like 3 feet. Can you believe it? 3 feet high. They lived like this for a long period of time. It's a horrible atrocity. At the same time, we, meaning Israel, but I knew everything they were doing pretty much. I knew most of the things they were doing, but they've killed probably 70,000 of these people, Hamas. And I said, it's time now. So we'll see what happens. We'll also see what happens. Your next question is going to be the weapons. We want the weapons to be given up, sacrificed, and they've agreed to do it. Now they have to do it. And if they don't do it, we'll do it.
CENTCOM today suggests that Hamas needs to hurry up and disarm and follow your comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
That it was the head of CENTCOM saying that. Is that not a signal to Hamas, to the rest of the world, that at some point the U.S. military may more directly engage?
We won't need the U.S. military. We won't need it. We're
Why
gonna
not just
involve
you?
because we're very much involved in it. If we weren't involved, there wouldn't be peace. If we didn't destroy the nuclear capability of Iran, that deal would have never happened for 2 reasons. The Arab nations would not have felt bold enough to do it because you have a very powerful, at that time, Iran is not powerful anymore, between what Israel and us did, because, the attack was, if you look at it, we helped them very much. They will be the first to tell you, including shooting down thousands of drones that were coming into Israel. We shot them down. We were shooting them down like it was target practice, but we shot down thousands of drones and missiles also going into Israel. But between what we did to Iran that way with the, conventional, we will call it, and what see that beautiful plane, that B-2, I noticed it on the desk. I always thought it was beautiful, but I never understood it. Now I understand it took in hundreds of thousands of bombs in the form of 2, but hundreds of thousands of pounds of bombs and every single bomb hit perfectly. Then they sent Tomahawks in. They sent 30 Tomahawks on top of it. And that was totally, CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't as bad as, as Trump said, because I said obliterated. Obliterated is not a strong enough word, actually. And you saw the Energy Commission came out and said the word obliteration is very, very, think of it. They came in under potential fire. They entered Iran airspace late at night in the dark, no moon. The moon was low for a reason. What time we picked it. Couldn't see anything. And they hit every target and they weren't hit. Nobody saw that plane. That plane is stealth. Nobody saw it. The problem with that is it may be stealth today, but tomorrow it won't be. And we just ordered about 20 brand new B-2 bombers. It's unbelievable as a weapon. I know Putin, when I was riding with him in Alaska, we passed a lot of them. And he said, that really did the trick. I said, yeah, it did. It's amazing. The flying wing. It's
no reason for the U.S. military to get involved in Gaza.
No, I don't see that. No, I think we're going to handle it very well. We'll be helping Israel, but we have other countries that are now. We signed, many countries signed, and many of those countries relatively are very strong military powers. And Hamas has no support. See, Hamas had the support of Iran, and now Iran says, don't get us involved. The last time they got them involved didn't work out too well. So they used to have the support of Iran. Today, Iran they're trying to survive. When I heard the reports 2 weeks ago, Iran's looking to build a nuclear weapon. I said, don't worry about it. They got a lot of things they want to do before.
Yeah, this is old
weapons.
shit. Why did they play this like this is happening right now?
It didn't work out. And if they did a nuclear weapon before they got even close.
I hate when they do that shit.
President Trump has ordered the military to shoot down at Iranian boats that deploy mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
The order came shortly after the U.S. seized another tanker suspected of smuggling oil. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest.
Today, new video released by the Pentagon shows the latest operation against Iran at sea. U.S. troops are seen rappelling from Navy helicopters onto a tanker the Pentagon says was transporting oil from Iran. It happened in the Indian Ocean, the second time an Iranian-linked ship has been seized by U.S. forces this week. It's part of the Trump administration's effort to crack down on anyone helping support Iran as it tries to enforce a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. The president posted on social media today that he has ordered the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any boat that is putting mines in the strait, adding the U.S. military is working to clear mines from the critical waterway. Iran calls the capture of the vessels an act of piracy and insists it still has control of the strait. Iranian state
that's
media
all they're
released
doing.
this footage showing an
Fucking
Iranian
act.
speedboat pursuing a cargo ship
These
before
motherfuckers will
masked
touch
Revolutionary Guard members boarded it, rifles drawn, as it searches the cabin. The tug of war in the strait has effectively shut it down, impacting economies far beyond the region. Roughly 20% of the global oil supply passes through the strait, and efforts to make up the difference since the war began have fallen well short.
We are facing the biggest energy crisis in the history.
And as tension grows at sea, an administration official tells ABC News Secretary of the Navy John Phelan was asked to step down immediately. Phelan was a civilian political appointee responsible for training and equipping Navy sailors. No reason was given, but sources tell ABC News he and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth
He was a
clashed
fucking
several
civilian.
times
Didn't know
in
what the fuck he was doing. He shouldn't have been there to start with. What's up, Yankees? Fuck, maybe I should go and
Today,
apply
a
for
second
the
round
job,
of
right?
talks between
Fuck,
Israel
I
and
got as
Lebanon
much
is set to
military
happen
experience
here
as
in
that dude
Washington.
did.
The ceasefire between the two countries
You don't put
expires
somebody
at
like
the end
that
of
in
the
charge
week.
of the Navy to
Christiane
start with.
Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
All right, y'all. If something else breaks, we'll be back on. But I just wanted to show you they were lying. Peace.